What is up, fight fans? Today we're going to talk about the comeback of George Foreman, the miraculous comeback of George Foreman. In 1989, George Foreman announced that he was coming out of retirement after a huge 10-year layoff, a layoff that would absolutely destroy most fighters. It is a crazy comeback, and you'll probably never see a comeback like this ever again in boxing. But you know what they say, the last thing to go on a fighter is his power, and George Foreman definitely had that. He was one of the hardest hitting punchers in all of boxing, an all-time great in the punching power category. He was also tough. He had a rock-solid chin. He was tough to get to, and there was only a few times in his career where we've actually seen him hurt. He compiled an amazing record. He was 64-2 in his career, and so when he made a comeback, a lot of people questioned, were we going to see the same George Foreman? And although I don't think we saw the same George Foreman, we saw a different version of George Foreman. This version of George Foreman was much better than the younger George Foreman. And in boxing, you don't see that. Usually you see guys, as they age, kind of stall out. They start to lose the speed and the skill. But George Foreman was able to carry that big punch with him. He also had that rock-hard chin, and he was a solid defensive fighter. So when George Foreman came out of retirement, he won 19 of his first fights after coming out of retirement, 18 of those fights by knockout. He was not stunned at any point in those 19 fights. Only one fight went to the scorecards against a journeyman, so that was a miracle for him. George Foreman came into 1990 when he matched up with Gerry Cooney. Gerry Cooney at the time was recognized as the #1 contender in the heavyweight division. He was a heck of a fighter. So the two would come to terms for a fight on January 15th in 1990 when Big George Foreman, 64-2, took on Gerry Cooney, 28-2, in what was supposed to be a competitive fight. Many boxing experts at this time had picked Cooney to win the fight because they didn't feel like Foreman had really had any challenges to this point. He hasn't faced any decent fighters, and Cooney was tested. Cooney won the WBC in 1982 against Larry Holmes, so he had a title and he had some good names on his resume. So we moved to the fight. The fight itself, like I said, we had two guys coming in. A lot of experts had picked Gerry Cooney to win this fight. The fight only went 2 rounds, and in the first round, it was pretty even. We saw both guys exchanging jabs throughout the round. Towards the end of the first round was a key moment for Gerry Cooney, a moment that unfortunately he couldn't really capitalize on, but he caught George Foreman with a left hand that stunned Foreman. It's probably one of the few times we've seen Foreman in his comeback actually get stunned or hurt. So he was able to score that shot in the first round. However, when we moved to round 2, it was a completely different story. Things would go downhill pretty quickly. Cooney was sent down to the canvas after he was stunned with a left uppercut, and then several right hands landed after that. And he was able to get back up on his feet. He answered the 10 count. He was clearly hurt, and once that was broken up by the ref, he threw them right back into action. Cooney was clearly out of it, and then George Foreman just walks over and does this and absolutely destroys Gerry Cooney.
Amazingly enough, he was going to get it anyway. He's risking everything.
Well, and there's a good right lead by George Foreman. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it definitely scores. Oh, and another right by Foreman. And Gerry Cooney has his left hanging.
So this fight to me proved one thing, and that thing was that the boxing IQ of George Foreman is top-notch. So when you gain boxing IQ throughout the course of your career, and you are able to have a rock-solid chin and punching power, which is the last thing to go, you can be a very successful fighter. And George Foreman proved that. As he got older, he got smarter, and that power didn't go, and he was able to score a huge knockout over Gerry Cooney.
Come up and slice the one, and Gerry Cooney's in big trouble. He's ready to go, and there he goes.
2, 3. Now let's see if he's learned anything about how to survive, because he's got a minute and 8 seconds left. Oh!